r/ask Reddit. Which basic knowledge did you totally forget for a moment? My age. Starting in my early 20s. Or so I think. Ooh, yes, this one. Most embarrassingly, it happened when I was going to a casino for the first time. You had to be 19 or older to enter. I was with my dad. So the guy at the front wasn't too worried and just asked me to confirm. I tried to say yeah, it's fine. I'm above 19 inches, but it came out as I'm 19, which wasn't true. I then tried to correct it to I'm 20, which was also not true. I was 21. So I gave him 3 different answers in one awkward sentence. Shockingly, the guy asked for my edit. The rest of the story isn't that interesting. The guy, I'm going to need to see your id. Me, already reaching for my wallet. That's fair. He then confirmed I was 21 and an idiot, and let me in. Other edit. I really didn't want this comment to get this much attention. I've had a similar experience at the Cuban border control. You get isolated in a small cubicle and they start asking questions about your passport. I didn't remember my birthday in the stress and I said was 16 instead of 18. I've never felt more stress in my life than that moment, lol. He let me through in the end without too much of a hassle. Not long after my daughter was born, I took her to a meetup with friends. I put her car seat next to another baby in the group. Then, sitting down, I asked the mom across from me how it was having twins. I completely forgot that one of those babies was mine. I asked the mom across from me how it was having twins. That's when you shout, no takebacks, and run away. This wins. I was just starting a new school in 9th grade and had to write an essay about myself that the other kids in the class would read. I forgot how to spell pants and wrote pants. Damn it. You made me laugh out loud in a completely silent train full of passengers. He made me Puma pants. I was ordering hot wings at a local barbecue joint. I was wondering if they still came with the fibrous green vegetable but couldn't remember the name. Ended up describing it to the cashier and she looks at me weird and says, you mean celery? Ugh. Yes, that's what I meant. That's when you speak with an accent and pretend English isn't your native language. Eat a longer green crunch stick, mate. You're here every Friday. I know what you sound like. Isa taste weird. Like a sheet, but Nissy sheet. Do you want what you have every Friday night? Yes, please. The word scissors mid-surgery. Normally we call them meds. For Metzenbaum scissors. But we had a new student as the scrub tech and I went to ask for meds. Asked a few times. Tried to remember the word scissors. Failed. Referred to them as snippies and did a little finger scissors motion. Looking like an idiot in front of the doctor. At least it worked and I got my scissors. Edit. Wow. Thanks for the gold and silver. LOL. I pretty much always call scissors snips at home, and while I'm looking for them I absent-mindedly do the finger snipping thing. Makes it a lot of fun when I need scissors at my office job. I call them where are the ducking scissors, or we have 10 pairs of scissors and I can't find a single ducking one of them at home. Tied a tie for church one morning. Nice, symmetrical knot. But I got it a little too short on the first try. No big deal. I always do that. I'll just tie it. Wait. How do you even tie a tie? Had to YouTube it after having just done it literally the moment before. Once something becomes mechanical memory, it's hard to deliberately recall it. I have forgotten my PIN code a couple times because I've had it for so long it has become muscle memory. Then one day I'm standing there in front of the ATM like a dunce. Did that with the last 4 of my SSN once too. They wanted me to type it, so my brain automatically went PIN. And then once I caught myself I had to try really hard to remember my SSN. Somebody asked me what day of the week it was, so I lifted up both of my hands to see which made an L. I am dying. This is just wonderful. I'm so sorry for your loss. Reading this I went to think if there were any days that started with L, and though January, February. Wait, duck, this thread is getting to me. How to spell of was unclear on where the V goes. There was like a whole week for me a couple years ago where every time I wrote of I actually wrote of and then was baffled for a couple minutes because I knew it looked wrong but couldn't figure out exactly why. It helps when writing songs for Behemoth though. I whispered into my wife's mouth once. To be fair, she kept her mouth open. to listen to me. Edit. I posted this further down. But like this. I almost laughed out loud. We were in public too. I got done whispering to her, and I was leaned in all close. Her mouth agape, and our eyes met, and we both realized how dumb that all was, and we scampered away. I still do it sometimes, especially if she yawns around me. I forgot how to whisper. When speaking in a second language, how to say literally every single word of the entire language. And it happens at the exact moment that someone asks me a question. Every time. Oh, you speak language? Say something in language. Promptly forgets entire language despite years of study. Me. Habla Español. When I was a senior in college, I spent several minutes longer than I should have thinking that onion was spelled the same as union, and wondering how people could tell the difference in writing. If it makes you feel better, I read both of those words as onion and was very distressed until I realized that union is a different word. Unions have layers. I was out boogie boarding in the ocean when it started raining. No thunder, and you're wet anyway, so who cares? But I put my board over my head so I can see a bit better, and I notice the sound of the rain hitting the board and think, whoa, that sounds just like a rain stick. The rain sounds like a rain stick. Jane, all I got was that dumbass stick sounds like it's raining. How come you got a wife? I forget what a washing machine is called at least once a month. I end up calling it a clothes washer out of desperation. People laugh at me every time. To be fair, it's a more accurate name. I call it a dishwasher at least once a week. If I'm running up the stairs or down the stairs and suddenly think how am I doing this? Walking becomes manual for a second and I fall. It turns the autopilot off. Like when the dentist says breathe through your nose. Edit. Also the same with ducking. You start thinking wow I am actually having sex, then your boner betrays you instead of enjoying the moment. Happens to almost every first timer. Oh, you ducker. This is totally going to happen to me today now that you've said this. God damn it. It's extra laundry day. Duck. When you step forward with one foot, which arm are you supposed to swing? I have, on 2 occasions, forgotten the word aquarium. The closest I could manage was fish zoo. I forgot hourglass and described it to my co-workers as that sand timer thing. Nobody else could remember the real word until someone googled it. Then we all felt really dumb. It's best when your dumb is contagious. Once while driving I wondered how blind people see the lane divider lines. By using a guide dog. Duh. They only drive on highways with rumble strips. I forgot my own birthday a few times. Just didn't seem too important till someone asked and I was like I have 2 kids and a very busy husband, so I'm in charge of all the appointments, insurance, pharmacy call-ins and pickups, lots of things where I have to recite their birth dates. I rarely make appointments for myself, and I have no medications as of yet, so I recently made an appointment for myself and had to say my birth date, except what came out of my mouth was my husband's birthday, and I didn't even realize it until she repeated it back to me. No, wait, sorry, I told her, that's my husband, mine isn't, proceeded to tell her my son's birthday. Since my son is 8, there's absolutely no reason for him to see a gynecologist. Open bracket. Obviously his gender is a pretty decent reason not to as well. But it's not like the receptionist knew I was reciting a male's birthday, just someone from 2010. She didn't even bother repeating it back to me. I only just barely stopped myself from reciting my, even younger, daughter's birthday next. After a far too long pause, I finally told her my own birthday. The woman on the phone was either very suspicious of me or very amused and trying not to laugh at me. Either way, her voice sounded odd and strained for the rest of the phone call. When I used to work in a pizza place, I once asked a guy ordering over the phone what his credit card number was. There was a pause for a few seconds and he tells me his phone number. When I questioned it, he says oh, done, and rattles off his social security number. Same process again and he tells me his birth date. I was so confused, so I just took a deep breath and asked for his credit card number. Apparently the first time I only said card number, so he panicked internally and started reading everything in his wallet. Once I entered the shower, got wet and then I got so distracted that I came out without actually washing. Had to re-enter the shower. At least one morning out of every 3 I forget whether I've washed my hair yet. I forgot how to throw a ball, an embarrassing moment in my life which my brain will never allow me to forget. In high school I was walking through the local fair with my then girlfriend. We come across a generic throw ball, hit the stuff, win things booth. The prizes are irrelevant but who cares? It's something fun to do. So I pick up the baseball and throw it without a second thought, except I fling it full strength straight into the ground. It was a perfect 45-degree angle throw into the dirt. I'm like, what the duck was that? It must have slipped. Everyone laughs it off. So I go to throw the second ball, and the same thing happens. I realize that I've completely forgotten how to throw a ball. I'm releasing way too late. Just whipped it straight into the ground. There was less laughter this time. The booth guy looks confused and says, "Don't you know how to throw a ball?" I swear I do. I don't know what is happening. I play catch with my brother regularly. This is insane. And I immediately start to stress out at the situation. The booth guy looks like he feels sorry for me and offers me a third try for free. I have to redeem myself. I don't have to win a prize. I just have to throw a ducking ball to prove to everyone I know how to do it at this point. But nope. Again. Straight into the ground this time. Like I'm spiking a goddamn football. I'm speechless. Someone from the crowd behind me says, "What the duck is wrong with you?" My girlfriend just looks disappointed. Not because I didn't win, but because it's so embarrassing that I would even try to do this while apparently having nearly indescribably poor motor skills. All I can do is walk away. I have no idea what happened. Nobody believes me that I do in fact know how to throw a ball. This memory haunts me still many years later anytime my brain decides, "Hey, remember that one time." Edit. Thanks for all the support, guys. Thankfully, just like the post suggested, this was just a temporary brain fart and I never had another issue since. I'm glad you all got some enjoyment out of my horrible day at the fair. This is one of the best so far, you poor soul. That sometimes happens to professional baseball players, so don't feel too bad. It's called the yips. I ask cause I just forgot for like half a minute how many days were in a year. I always struggle to remember if it is 52 or 54 weeks in a year. 365. The power at my house had gone. I'm on a beta so it's fairly common thing. My phone started to die, so I put it on charge, then spent about 10 minutes trying to figure out why it wouldn't charge. My attempt also included trying to Google why it wouldn't charge, to no avail, cost no power so no internet. It was at that point I realized we hardly ever lose power. When we do, I still try to turn on the light switch in every room I enter. IDK if this counts, but one day I forgot how to say carrot in my native language. Edit. It's kinda late now, but to clarify, I only knew a language back then. If I wanted to use it on a sentence I would have to improvise. I forget random basic words every day in my native language. Sometimes I only remember the English version of that word. Is a real struggle. Spent half an hour one time trying to make my brain accept that want is obviously a word, because how else would one contract will and not? Why does this look weird? Why does this sound weird? It has to be a word. For a couple seconds I was thinking the same thing, he won't be made to feel like an idiot. I did the opposite the other day, was trying to remember which words make won't. Back in the times of printing out driving directions, I mixed up left and right once and I ended up some 2 hours away from my destination. I was 16 with no cell phone and extremely socially awkward, so it took a lot of courage to ask a gas station attendant how to get back to my city. A couple friends were waiting at my house when I got there. They said they thought I died or was kidnapped or something. "Hey, you look great in that picture, but who's the dude next to you? Looks like they need to eat better and get some sleep. And what is up with that, huh? That's you. Shit. I totally did this. I was looking at old pictures and one was from when I was in Girl Scouts. I recognized everyone in the picture except for one super ugly fat kid. After a few minutes of insulting thoughts about kid, I realized it was me. I felt like shit after that. What you call a person who is from China? Easy. Just remember people from Canada are called Canadians. So a person from China is a Chinian. No, it isn't. It's similar to how you call someone from France. It's a Chinchman. I often confuse the windshield wiper toggle with a turn signal. I'll be preparing to make a turn and then bam, windshield wipers start going nuts. I blanked on my own name once. I was shaking hands with someone and my brain just died for a moment. I presented myself as my friend's name, then I just stood there quietly with my broken thoughts as my friend had to tell me what my actual name was. It was such a confusing situation. Don't know if this counts, but I forgot the password I set for my phone not even a second after setting it. Sad part is I never remembered it and got my phone disabled. Edit. Funnily enough, I did this not only once but twice. Just remembered I changed my password last New Year's Eve and forgot it again right after changing it. I forgot how to swallow. I was eating a steak at a diner. One of those steak and eggs breakfast platters. So you know it's not the best steak. It was tough and impossible to swallow. My esophagus was so pissed. It forgot how to swallow for about a day. I would try to eat but could not remember how. My tongue would press against the roof of my mouth and that's all that would happen. The next day I had a hot tea and that fixed it. That's scary. Sometimes I forget the name for radiators and end up calling them microwaves. When I see elevators, 90% of the time, I automatically think umbrellas. No clue why. Edit. I am loving everyone's theories. Keep them coming. So far, the most plausible one is that they both open and close. I haven't heard of or seen most of the other stuff people have suggested. I forget words frequently. My personal favorites are long suckers, straws, and bread seeds, flour. I once forgot how to count in the only language I have, and had to stare at the blackboard for a few seconds trying to remember. Never go full retard. I forgot what hand sanitizer was called when a classmate had put some on. I was commenting on how pungent it was when I forgot the word for pungent as well. So my sentence in the end was, your hand sauce is loud. Needless to say they were very confused and concerned. You got an audible nose laugh out of me. I have a psychotic disorder so this sort of thing happens a lot. But just yesterday I had my hand on my desk and I couldn't tell which finger I was moving. That was kinda weird. Me. Stares intensely at hand me. Tries to move pinky finger, beads of sweat form on forehead me. Index finger moves me. God damn it. Wiggle. Your big toe. I knew there were 50 states in the US but I said 52 when asked for a trivia game. Yeah, that was pretty embarrassing. This is a very common mistake that Americans make. There was a study done and some absurd percentage of people instantly answered 52 when asked the same question. It's always 52, but why? Once I was having dinner with my new girlfriend's family for the first time, and I forgot what a potato was. I think it's insensitive to yell at me just because I don't know what something is, and let me tell you, he really didn't like that. During an HS history exam, I forgot how to spell Jesus. Got a 97 on the test cause lost 3 points how to spell it. It wasn't a religious test or school. Just from that time period, the red marked who -3 inches made me quite embarrassed though. So how did you spell it? Kanye. I once forgot what rain was called. I was super tired and in the process of going to bed. I asked my wife, is it supposed to look? What's it called? You know when the water falls from the sky. My wife goes, is it supposed to rain tomorrow? Is that what you're asking? To this day rain is referred to as water falling from the sky instead of rain. I cut my finger and grabbed a paper towel to cover it up. Thought it was terribly inconvenient to just hold it there. But what if there was some adhesive substance to hold this stuff in place? Grabbed some duct tape, wrapped the paper towel in it, and stuck the rest to the lower part of my finger. Ta-da! Man, I'm brilliant. My mom looked at me like, what the duck are you doing? I then realized I had invented the band-aid, while never being more than 3 feet from a pack of the genuine article this entire time. I read, silently to myself, a sentence that went something like no one knows what they had been doing in there and my brain's internal narrator mispronounced the word doing as a perfect rhyme for boing. You know, like a comic book sound effect. Doing. No distractions. No background noise. Just suddenly I forgot how an extremely common word is pronounced. I was once doing a maths exam and one of the questions asked something like Nigel has this many apples or something. I don't remember, I just know the guy's name was Nigel, except when I read it in my head, I read it as, well, I read it as Nigel, and for a good minute I was stumped as to why anyone would call their child that. Apologies to anyone called Nigel. Went to the doctor's office with my dad to get my medical records and they had to ask me some questions. They asked me my birthday and I just looked at my dad like, get this one for me, cause for the life of me, I could not remember. I was 16-17 at the time. Sometimes I forget how to get to places where I have driven many times before. I will look on Google Maps and then slap my head. Done, you idiot, and then drive right there. How to spell who? I was thinking who but realized something was wrong. I've played Pokemon so much for so many years, since it came out, that sometimes I forget the word for things like caterpillar because my brain goes for Caterpie instead. I once had my laptop plugged into charge during a lecture because it was running very low on battery. Everything's going fine. Then the screen suddenly goes black. I look over to the plug and it turns out I had never flipped the switch beside it. One time at science class my teacher asked this really tricky question. I answered it right, but then she asked me how many minutes an hour has and the only numbers I could recall were 45 and 64. Minecraft stack. I have pre-Alzheimer's. I joke, but not really. My wife frequently finds my keys in the fridge. To conclude, I've forgotten how to adult. I like how your comment is a mini essay. How many numbers we know about? 0 through 9. The rest is just fancy math tricks to keep track of more things. I forgot what the word mud was. I was at work and some sterile product got delivered to us covered in mud. This makes the product no longer sterile and I have to send it back and inform my boss. I send her a text and say the product was covered in liquid dirt. It wasn't until hours later when I mentioned the issue to a coworker and he looked at me dumbfounded and said, "You mean mud?" It was at that moment I realized how stupid I was. Brownie points because my boss knows now too. That there are 60 minutes in an hour and 100 centimeters in a beater instead of the opposite. Edit. Since a lot of people are replying about money, cents and etc. I should say that it happens to me as well, but not as often as those first two. Thinking face. Ice cubes will displace any liquid they're in. For some reason I had this mental breakdown about ice cubes potentially causing a drink to overflow. When I was in the 8th grade, at the end of the year we were playing an around the world style social studies based game where we only had like 15 seconds to answer whatever question the teacher asked. It gets to me and he asks where penguins are from. I panic. The word on the tip of my tongue but running out of time. I blurt out the first cold place I can think of, Russia, then a couple seconds of dumbfounded silence. I was typically regarded as one of the smart kids, so this was even more uncharacteristically dumb. Then I go, wait, Alaska. I am obviously eliminated. My best friend is laughing her ass off. And then I head desk. Antarctica. I meant Antarctica. How to sign my name. In my previous role at where I work I was a quality inspector, aerospace industry. It was a really stressful job with management applying pressure from different directions. Quality wanted you to take your time, operations wanted you to go fast, logistics wanted the part out the door no matter what. On one particular bad day I was about to sign a certificate of conformity and just totally forgot what my signature was. No matter how hard I tried to remember it, my mind was blank. Which as a very logical person, really made me mad as I couldn't work out what was happening. I went and told my boss I was incapable of signing my name, so I am incapable of inspecting aircraft parts. Turns out I was suffering from stress and the doctor told me to take a month off work. If you're in a high pressure environment and start forgetting silly things, go and talk to your boss or a doctor. Stress should not be taken lightly. Whoa. You made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.